4.5 years ago, I launched the Apeiron base with this one, the original prototype. And the whole concept of that base was to make this very simple, stripped down tree with strings, hiding the electronics, although I hadn't figured that out here yet, and making it just like a fretless, real simple instrument. But it's evolved a lot since then, and now if you go to apeironbase.com, you can design your own version of this instrument, and I make them for you, and I also stock some there too. They come in 4, 5, and 6 string versions, fretted, fretless, active, passive pickups. All of these things are options that you can choose from over at the website. And I'm always kind of trying to continue to grow and give more options and more ways that people can sort of design their own. Like I've added color. And then there's this one thing that goes all the way back to the very beginning, the very first release. So many people asked me to do that I kind of never thought that I would, but now I have. So here it is, introducing the Apeiron Headless bass. I'm going to tell you all about it here, along with a couple other modifications and experiments that I've tried on some of these basses. And then we'll catch up at the end. So I recently made a batch of 4 Apeirons for inventory at the store, and we're going to talk about 2 of them today, and the other 2 are going to get mentioned in a future video that I'm making. But so I wanted to do this headless, and one of the other things I wanted to do was I picked up a pretty nice palette recently, so I thought I'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone and make this headless bass using some reclaimed palette wood, which is not an option on this site. The option is reclaimed wood, which I usually use chestnut or something of a similar quality. So the palette is sort of a one-off thing, probably for this bass. But the cool thing about the design of the bass is that, like, the whole middle core I stuck with maple, and so the parts that you kind of have a choice on, like, are the wings for the most part, and that tends to be, less structurally important, so you can have some fun with some different types of wood like palette. Of course, this palette wasn't thick enough or the right dimensions or anything, so I had to do a bunch of glue ups to make my wing material blanks to add to the maple core. In the beginning, when the Apeiron started as a 4-string fretless, the 2 main reasons I was sort of against the idea of using headless hardware was the expense and also the look. So, I was trying to keep these basses at a reasonable price range, and they still do start. They start at $12.95 for a custom-built bass. And of course, the more additions you have, like headless, the more the price goes up. And I found this Nova Labs hardware that I like, that I think is worthy of the bass that I'm using, but it is expensive, so of course there's an added cost. But there's just one of those options that I wanted to add to the thing. And the other reason was the look, because I really wanted to just keep the bass looking as woody as possible, and I still really, that's my favorite thing. The favorite version of the Apeirons are the fretless, the classics with the controls hidden in the back and stuff. But since it is a more evolved bass now for more practical use, this is just another practical application of the design. Now, with multiple days of gluing, this palette blank is ready for the CNC router, and we'll just skip ahead to when that's done. And here you can see it's the same Apeiron body, just without a head. And I did design the headless head so it would still hang, but everything else about it is pretty much the same. So it has the same construction with the faceplate, which I used palette wood. And I also used palette wood for the fingerboard, just for fun. So the heartbeat inlay is an option for both the fretted and fretless, and they double as position markers at 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. And the other thing I've added as an option for the fretless, well, 2 things. One is fret lines. I'm just not a fan of them, but some people are. So now I'm doing, as you can see, is a pretty subtle fret line where I just sort of fill them in. And the other is the epoxy pour. In the past, all of them have had just natural finishes on the necks and the fingerboards, but now I'm offering an epoxied fingerboard for people that like that. With all the parts near completion and partially sanded, it's time to glue them together and then do all the final finish sanding. I really don't shape the necks until the fingerboard is on, because I find myself having to do a little bit extra work, and I try to sand the top before I glue on that part, which you can see I'm doing here. And you'll notice I have alignment pins that I use to make that top go to the right spot and not slide around, and I just use little pieces of broken pencil like I do on my CNC router for indexing. The Apeiron comes with two finish options. One is satin, where I do a furniture butter by walrus oil, just like a hand-rubbed oil thing. And the other one is more of a satin finish, where I use some kind of old world style varnishes that I really like. And now it's time to set her all up. I didn't modify the Apeiron body shape at all, but then I realized that in the future I will just take a little bit more wood away underneath where the G-string is, just to make it a little bit easier to tune that string. You can kind of see where the body cuts in underneath it. It gets a little bit close, but it's still fine, but it can be better. Commercial time. As most of you know, I don't take money from corporate overlords, and I'm not a content creator. I don't really make money from making these videos. So the way I support myself and make a living is by selling the things that I make, and I like to share them here with you, basically just for fun. So if you appreciate that, the best way you can support me is by actually shopping at one of my stores and buying the stuff that I make, right? It's a no-brainer. Or you can, of course, support me over at patreon.com/TimSway. That would be very helpful too. But I like the transactional action of, making things for a living and selling them. And so obviously all the guitars and stuff that I make here are for sale over at newperspectivesmusic.com, as well as a bunch of other little things that I've made over the years, including like these like t-shirts and hats that I actually have a sale on right now, as I'm running out what's left of the inventory to do some new stuff over there in 2026. And I also have squaretools.com, where I make and sell the tools that I designed over the years of making guitars, a bunch of like guitar making tools and just general woodworking tools that I design over there that are unlike pretty much anything else anywhere else in the world. Squaretools.com. Oh, and of course guineapigtanks.com. If you know, you know. And the coupon code I know Tim Sway will save you 10% on all of those sites. So I would appreciate your support, and if you can, that's great. And if you can't, then just do the old thumbs up and share and all that stuff. That helps too. All right, back to the show. Let's just have a quick listen before we move on to the next thing. I would call that experiment a success, and now on for one of the other things I was experimenting with in this new batch of Apeirons. And I do the hidden pickup thing all the time. It's pretty common with the active pickups that I use, the active EMGs, but then with my passive pickups, I tend to make them visible. And I thought I'd see if I could find a way to sort of make the passive ones invisible. My concern being that the passive ones wouldn't be strong enough to cut through the wood. So I came up with this whole elaborate scheme of making it sort of float. And what I discovered is that when I finally had the whole thing set up, it's basically just flat anyways, and my passive hand wound pickups totally cut through the wood in that extra tiny bit of distance, no problem. So I found that this whole experiment to be unnecessary. But one of the great things about experimenting is that, that's how you learn. I wouldn't have known unless I tried, and now I know that I probably don't need to do this again. But so this is not an option that's available at the website right now. If you really wanted it, you could contact me. I could do it. But this one particular bass is for sale. So if you dig that whole look, there is one, and maybe only one, that was made this way. We'll give this one a quick listen too, but then the other two basses with the new bridges I'm designing, you're going to have to wait until next time. I'm very excited to be able to offer this headless version now. The Future ones will have that slight modification done here, but that is an option now on all 4, 5, and 6 string basses over at apeironbass.com, and you can go ahead and check that out. The other thing is coloring is now an option, but what is not yet is doing the floating passive pickup. I'm not 100% sold on that yet, but if some of you are really interested, you can contact me about it and we could discuss it. And all of these basses as they sit are for sale on the site for a little bit of a discounted price versus using the build your own features on the site, because they're my experiments. So, you know, why not? I'm also very excited about the bridge that I've designed for the string throughs, the 4s and the 5s. Haven't figured one out yet for the 6 that I like, but maybe in the future. I think it's really a really nice touch. I'm really proud of them, and I'm going to have more information about these bridges and some changes coming up in the next video. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then. All right, be good.